Good morning, everybody. It is March 16th, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Good morning, everybody. All right, just hop on and tell me where you guys are coming from today. I see you guys loading on now. We've got some people coming from Hungary, Chicago, Illinois. Awesome. All right, you guys, today we're going to talk about why it's important to listen. So this seems like such a basic topic. At first, when I first read the chapter title, I was like, how could you even build a lesson around this? Like, it seems so obvious. Like, there's no material here. You're just, all right, I got it. I got the whole message just by reading the title. But I'm actually going to build a whole some content around this because it is actually so important. It's something that we don't even really pay attention to. We think that listening is just a natural, easy thing to do. However, when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to building a team or working with people, it's absolutely essential that we get this right. So in the book, first of all, let me restate, we are in The Self-Aware Leader by John Maxwell, and we're on chapter 5, which is listen more than talk. Okay, so forgot to say that in the beginning. I see you guys coming in from Canada. We got Michigan, South Dakota, Georgia, Florida's in the house. All right, Idaho, Bloomington. Okay, Texas. Can't forget Texas. Denver. All right, guys, let's get the party started. So, like I said, listening is super important when it comes to sales, just sales in general. I'm going to give you guys a couple examples on my recent experiences with people that are in sales that completely got it wrong because of not listening. Have you guys ever went to like a dealership before and went shopping for a car before? And there's like 50 salespeople all huddled in kind of one area like sharks, right? As soon as you park, they all kind of come out and try to like talk to you and see what you're looking for. But if they're a really good salesperson, they're not just like judging you, right? They're not just looking at you like, okay, they came out of here with 2 kids, you know, maybe they need an SUV. Like, if they're really good salespeople, they're going to ask a lot of questions. They're going to not just look at you, judge you, and then assume that this is what you need. Because a lot of times salespeople who are maybe new at sales do that, right? And we even do that in our own business too, where we're talking to somebody and the reason we joined was because of money. So naturally, we want to talk to them about why they need to make money, but that might not even be on their radar. They might not even care about that at all, right? So when you get out of the car going on a sales lot for a dealership, sometimes it's crazy because, you know, if they ask me what I do for a living and I'm by myself, I'm going to say, you know, I'm a network marketer. That doesn't make a lot of sense to them, or I could say I'm a CEO of a direct sales company. And if they hear that title, they may think, okay, you need like a coupe, you need a 2-seater, you need a car that makes you look good. You may care about your image, right? They may think that, but if they get to know me, they'll realize I have 4 kids that are constantly dumping Cheerios in the backseat of my car, and that I need something that's going to be kid-proof, right? And that I really don't care about what I look like. I really want a functional vehicle, right? So sales is really all about listening. It's so important. Otherwise, you're going to get it wrong, and it's going to be so hard to engage and re-engage your team if you're not constantly connecting with your people. So in The Contrarian's Guide to Leadership by Stephen B. Sample, he states that the average person suffers from 3 delusions. 1, that he's a good driver. 2, that he has a good sense of humor. And 3, that he's a good listener. We all think that we're a good listener. We all think that, oh yeah, I hear what you're saying. I know what you mean. But the majority of conversations go like this. Somebody's talking, and while that person's talking, you're already thinking of your rebuttal to whatever they're saying. You're thinking about what you're going to say next. So you're not really listening. You're kind of selective listening. For instance, if you have a teenager, I use my teenager all the time in my training. Honestly, one day he's going to be teaching the class, I think, because I've learned so much just from having a teenager, you guys. Before my son left to go back to California to go to his school, I said, hey, it's time to go. Make sure you pack up. Don't forget your toothbrush. Don't forget your laundry. Don't forget your blankets. Don't forget, you know, I'm doing the mom thing, trying to make sure he's good. Do you think he heard me? No. In fact, he spent all his time trying to tell me why he didn't want to go at that time. So because he was shouting back why he didn't want to leave, he forgot everything. So he went to school with nothing. And I'm like, I told you, but you didn't hear me. And that's literally how listening is kind of works sometimes. We think we're listening, but we're really not. So John Maxwell himself, the author of this book, was confronted by an employee once who said, John, I don't bring ideas to you anymore because I don't think you listen to them. And he was like, wow, like, I think I'm a pretty good listener. Like, how could you even say that? He says, because, and an employee told him, because when you're in meetings with us, you don't even look at us. You're just in your own world. You're wandering off. You're thinking about your own ideas, what you're going to do next, but you're not listening to us. And if you're not listening to us, we're not going to feel like we can trust you. We're not going to feel like our ideas are going to go anywhere. So the first thing he did, of course, was apologize, because he knew that it takes a lot of courage for an employee to tell him that. But also the second thing he did was try to change and become a better listener. So now he said in his meetings, he would take out his paper and he would draw every meeting he went to, he would draw an L on it to remind himself to listen. And then sometimes he would put 2 L's to remind himself to look at the person while he's listening. So instead of dreaming or daydreaming or whatever in the meeting, he's now paying attention to what they're asking and what they're saying to him. And that's so important, you guys. I feel like Josh and I recently kind of went through this with our whole corporate team. Part of running a business is always looking at budgets, right? It's always looking at ways to save money, like to make sure your sales and your operation costs are always in alignment, to make sure you're not overspending in certain areas or underspending in other areas, right? So that's part of running a whole business. And so Josh and I recently kind of went through our whole books and we're like, okay, we could cut here, we could cut here, we could cut here, and this would make the business more profitable. Business owner stuff. I know, very interesting. So you guys are like, wow, that's fascinating. Some of you guys are traditional business owners and you understand this. So as we're going through this, one thing that we were looking at was our employee health benefits. And I'm telling you guys this because this is a lesson in leadership and it's a lesson in listening. And we thought, wow, we could save a lot of money by just reducing. Well, this created an uproar. Our people are, we're like, no, don't change our benefits. We like our benefits. Everything's good right now. We're so motivated by having what we have right now. Please don't change it. And at first we didn't hear them. We heard a little bit of rumbling, but we didn't hear what they really needed or what they really wanted. And, there's an old saying, hold on, I'm going to skip ahead here, that says, if you listen to the whispers, you don't have to hear the screams. I think that's an old Indian proverb. So long story short, you guys, we ended up not changing them because we wanted to listen to our people. We wanted to make sure that they were happy and that they were excited to come to work every single day. So that's on the employee side. On the affiliate side, it's the same thing. We guys hear your guys' rumbles all the time. We're in 50 million chats on Telegram and we're like, hey, can we do it like this? Hey, can we get one of these? Hey, what about this product? Or what about this location for this event? Or, hey, I know Aaron Parker is always our biggest kind of cheerleader for the back office improvements. We've taken a lot of his ideas and put them into place because of things that he's brought to us. And I think having that working environment is so crucial if you want to grow, because you can learn so much more if you are listening to your people. So I know Aaron said, hey, we need a tracker for our global bonus pool. We can't even tell right now if somebody's achieved it or not. Hey, we need all this information on all of our team, not just our first line. Hey, we need we need to know if we're binary qualified easier, and all these things kind of went into 2.0. So if we never took the time to listen to you guys, we would just be building something that we wanted instead of something that you guys needed. And so that's why it's so important to take into consideration the thoughts, the feelings of other people that you're working with as you're leading them on this new path. The sample also says that many leaders are terrible listeners, and they actually think talking is more important than listening. But contrarian leaders know that it's better to listen first and talk later. And when they listen, they do so artfully. The positive benefits of being a good listener are much more valuable than we often recognize. And I'm going to tell you guys a little story that's in this book. I feel like Chris Robinson can relate to this. And I don't know why, but this story just reminded me of him for some reason. But some country boys are out in the woods and go in there hunting, and one of the boys falls to the ground. He doesn't seem to be breathing. And when his eyes roll back to his head, the other boy calls 911 right away and says, "What can I do?" And the operator calmly tells the man, "Well, first," the guy on 911 says, I think he's dead. So the operator calmly says to him, he says, "Well, let's first make sure he's dead." And then there's silence, and then a shot is heard in the background. And the boy gets back on the phone. He said, "All right, now what?" So that's not what she meant when she said, "Make sure he's dead," right? So I don't think that's the intent of that message, but that's the difference between like hearing someone and really listening. Okay. Sometimes we get it completely wrong. So anyway, that's just a little story that he put in the book. I thought was funny, but the story illustrates that we can hear what's being said without really listening to what's being communicated. The hunter heard what the operator told him and technically did just that. But had he really been listening, he wouldn't have shot his partner, right? So when we hear without listening, our leadership is bound to suffer, and so will our followers. The first thing I did as CEO was I talked to everybody. I went to my team, I went to other people's teams, I went to our corporate team and said, "Hey, what do we need to do better? What can we do differently that will take us to the next level?" And it's so important because you get so much valuable information when you're listening to other people. Okay, so one thing I want to say is this. Now, something that Robert does really, really well, I think he's actually going to be training you guys on this at Mastermind, so you want to make sure you get there, is how to get the new person to dream. So you have to be a really good listener if you're going to help somebody dream. Otherwise, you may be putting your dreams into them, and that won't make a lot of sense at all, right? So when you're recruiting somebody for the first time or bringing a new person onto your team, a new affiliate, right? And even a customer. So this is different for customers, of course, they're probably more product focused. But if you're enrolling an affiliate, this is more dream focused, dreamscaping, Curtis says. Yeah, it's getting somebody to kind of build that vision with them, but you have to be really good at listening in order to build that dream with them. So you ask a lot of questions. Why do you want to join MyDailyChoice? What is it for you that you want to change in your life? What's going to be different? Is it that you want more time? Is it that you want more money? Is it some other dream altogether that you need money for, right? What is it that you see for your future, or something that you want to go after that you maybe don't know how to get there? And at first, sometimes people who are not used to dreaming or having a big vision for themselves, they may hesitate. They may say, honestly, I just need $500 a month. That's it. Like, I just need to cover my rent this month, or I just need to cover my car payment. And maybe their goals kind of start out small, and then they get bigger and bigger as they build that belief within them. When I work with people one-on-one and I'm doing my mentorship calls, it's so important for me and for the person I'm working with to get as much information as I can out of them so that I know exactly what they're looking for. It also helps when it's time for them to quit. You heard me right, because here's what happens, which is kind of interesting, is when you're the upline leader and the person joined because they want more time with their kids, but you're chasing them and saying, "Hey, this is on sale," or, "Hey, this is a business promotion we have right now. You can double your income," or you're chasing them and you're talking to them about money. And for them, they're like, "I don't even really care about money. I really just need more time. And this business is taking up my time." And so they may quit because they think that you're focused on money and they're focused on time. So they may quit because, hey, that's easier to get more time with your kids than to work an extra job as an affiliate to build your business. So it's important for you to now reposition to them and say, well, if you want more time, you have to invest time in your business. It's going to take more time now, but it's going to pay off in the long run. In the long run, you'll have time to do what you want because you won't have to clock in every day, and you'll be able to kind of build on your own terms from anywhere. If you've got Wi-Fi, you can build it, right? So it's so important to know exactly why they're joining the business and then hold them to that vision as they're building, right? Because people forget why they started all the time. They get started or maybe their vision changes. Maybe they, maybe they conquer one goal and then they fail to set another goal. You have to get them to set another goal, set a new vision, set a new, dream, so that they have something to work towards. All right, let's move on a little bit here. Studies show that we hear half of what's being said, we listen to half of what we hear, and we understand half of that. We believe half of that and remember only half of that. So what does that mean? So what does that mean in an 8-hour workday? Well, let's see. You spend half of your day, 4 hours, in listening activities. You hear 2 hours worth of what's being said. You actually listen to an hour of it. You understand 30 minutes of the hour. You believe only 15 minutes of that. And you remember less than 8 minutes of what's being said. So everybody on here right now, you guys are listening to me. You're only going to get about 8 minutes of what I'm saying here today. Those are really shocking statistics if you really think about it. But I mean, really, if you want to be a good leader, you have to be a good listener. Understanding people precedes leading them. Leadership finds its source in understanding. To be worthy of a responsibility of leadership, a person must have insight into the human heart. You know that old saying, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. You have to be sensitive towards the hopes and dreams of other people on your team, and make sure that you're not overselling on your dream versus theirs, because you've got to connect with them before you'll be able to motivate them. And everybody has a completely different story, right? And a lot of times people come into this business with a victim mindset. I mean, absolutely. They're looking for a way out, and they may not know that there is a way out yet, but they're probably coming to this business with a lot of baggage, right? A lot of maybe shattered dreams. Oh, I went after this before, but I failed. I was in this company before, but I failed. I was in network marketing before and it didn't work, right? And they come to you with all of this stuff. I feel like, honestly, like if you're a really good leader in network marketing, you're probably half like psychologist for real, because it really takes a lot of kind of unwinding sometimes with people to get them to just believe in themselves. So listening is the best way, though, to learn. Leaders touch the heart before they ask for a hand. I can't ask you guys to go build if I haven't taken the time to connect with you. I can't ask you to go get sales, if I haven't taken the time to give you guys what you actually need to go get sales. I mean, it's a two-way street. Listening is the best way to learn. And we've got one mouth and two ears for a reason. I know we've heard that before. But when we fail to listen, we're actually shutting off our learning potential. I remind myself every morning, something Larry King said. He said, I remind myself every morning, nothing I say this day will teach me anything. So if I'm going to learn, I must do so by listening. Larry King said that. Listening can help keep problems from escalating. Good leaders are attentive to small issues. They pay close attention to their intuition about whispers. Intuition is a big thing that sometimes we talk ourselves right out of. We say, well, what does your gut say? Well, sometimes you have to follow your gut, even though it may lead you down a scarier path, right? Because a lot of us like to cling to safety all the time. We want to cling to what's comfortable, and doing this business requires you to get out of that comfort zone. And sometimes your gut is saying, go for it, but your head is saying, stay where it's safe. You're going to encounter all kinds of people like that when you recruit people into this business as an affiliate. Their gut is going to say, go for it, but their mind is going to talk them out of it. Not only their mind, maybe their husband's going to talk them out of it. Their wife's going to talk them out of it. And all the negative people around them, in their circle are going to talk them out of it, which is why it's so important that you anchor to them, because you may be their only hope to get them out of the mess that they're in now. Leaders need to be careful not to be so focused on results that they stop listening or become impatient. Leaders need to become careful not to be so focused on results that they stop listening or become impatient. So again, this goes back to Robert's example. Don't beat up your cows. Maybe they need more grass, right? Maybe they're just out of fuel, out of food or something. Like, you got to be patient. You have your results in mind, and you're like, well, I have this whole team, but they're not doing nothing. We've been there before, right? Well, I can recruit, but they're not doing it. Right? And we want them to produce, but we're not listening to see what they actually need or what they're going through in their life. Maybe they're going through something challenging right now and they need a little extra time, a little extra space, a little extra care. If you nurture that relationship, they're going to be more motivated to get back in and build again. The higher people go in leadership, the more authority they wield, and the less they're forced to listen to others. So as you become a higher rank, you have more authority, right? You have more people that are looking up to you. It's the fishbowl syndrome that Josh always talks about. When you're a leader, you're basically a fish in a fishbowl. Everybody's looking at you and you've got clear glass all around you, right? So everybody can see what mistakes you're making or what, good things you're doing and also what bad things you're doing. But the higher people go, you have more authority, so they don't necessarily have to listen as much anymore. But it's so important that if you want to turn around your team, or if you want to increase your volume in your team, that you don't stop reaching down to even the lowest levels in your business to really listen to see what people need. Listening establishes trust. So again, the employee that went to John Maxwell and said, hey, I'm not going to bring you any ideas because I don't trust you're going to do anything with them. He started to change after that because he realized that people were not trusting of him. If they don't trust that change could be made or that positivity can grow, then they're not going to bring anything to him. So listening establishes trust. When leaders listen to followers and use what they hear to make improvements that benefit those who speak up to the organization, then followers put their trust in those leaders. And listening builds trust, the foundation of all lasting relationships. Have you ever been in a relationship before where, in the beginning of your relationship, maybe, and you start out and you're so optimistic because you haven't been burned yet, right? Have you ever been in a relationship like that before? And the person keeps doing the same negative thing over and over again. And eventually you're like, I'm not even going to tell you anymore. Like, you're not even going to listen. So what's the point? I'm not even going to point it out anymore. I'm not going to ask for what I need anymore because you're not going to listen. And I'm losing trust that you're going to do anything with my needs. So I'm not going to tell you anymore. Like, I've been in that situation before. Have you guys ever been in that situation before? And so that's the trust. Trust is all about being heard. It's about knowing that your issues are going to be handled, right? And your complaints are going to be heard, but not just complaints, but also, that your needs for this to be successful has to be heard as well. So one thing I want to kind of shift gears a little bit, which is kind of interesting to me, is let's talk about stereotypes for just a minute, because I feel like stereotypes come from judgment, which is the opposite of listening. One thing I did when I was in high school was kind of crazy, not gonna lie, but I cut off all of my hair in high school. Most people probably wouldn't have done that, I don't know, but I was just an oddball, just the way it was. And the reason I did it was because I was tired of being labeled as a blonde girl. I don't know why, but I guess the age I grew up in, I just didn't want to be the blonde girl that people ignored and only looked at, right? I didn't want to be that. And so as I was trying to escape one stereotype, I realized that once I shaved my head, I literally put myself in another stereotype. So now instead of guys gawking at me, I had guys completely ignoring me. They're like, oh, she's not interested. She has a shaved head. She's definitely not interested in us. Like, I went from one box to the other because of a stereotype. So not only now were people not listening to me, or some of people were afraid of me. They're like, what's wrong with her? She shaved her whole head for no reason. I felt like really I just wanted to be heard, right? I really just wanted somebody to listen to me. And I thought that by changing my appearance, I was going to get a different reaction. Stereotypes come in all different ways, shapes, and forms, though, if you think about it. Something that I've kind of experienced as I've become successful. When you drive around in a Lamborghini, people treat you differently than when you're driving around in a Chevy. And I didn't like that either. Now, I did like it when I pulled up to a hotel and people rushed to get the door. I thought that was pretty cool, but I couldn't understand, why are we treating people so different based on what they look like or what they're driving or what they're wearing? I thought this whole concept was so weird to me, but we just assume. And people in my family, even in my own family, stereotype me because of my success. And, and I honestly blame Disney for this because if you think about it, the rich person is always the villain, right? The wealthy person is always the evil person. And so we get this like weird stereotype and people just judge. And if you've been in that situation before, maybe it's on the opposite side. People think because you don't have a lot of money, or because maybe you're, poor today, but rich tomorrow, people start judging you. And that's the opposite of listening. And so I challenge all of you guys to remove yourself from the boxes you're in, and just to look at people and understand that everybody has a story. Everybody's coming from somewhere. And the person that's rich today maybe wasn't rich yesterday. And the person that maybe was, this way isn't going to be that way tomorrow, because everybody is custom. I thought it was so interesting that there's a whole sales training about personality types. That's so weird to me. Personality types. I feel like everybody is a unique person and every personality is unique. So if you're trying to study how to put people in boxes, and then you're met with resistance because your new customer feels like they didn't get heard, then you're going to have some resistance there, right? And so I think it's so important to know the person individually. You really, like, recruiting is, and even getting customers is a custom approach. Everybody has a different dream. Everybody has a different mindset. So it's important to kind of customize everything that's coming your way. All right. Lastly, you guys, listening can improve the organization. Listening can make the difference between a mediocre company and a great one. And I think that's something that is kind of setting us apart from what's out there. The biggest complaint people have in network marketing is that the corporate environment or the corporate people do not understand the field at all. And I think that's huge. Even there are some leaders out there, or not leaders, but other CEOs out there that have had affiliate experience, but they become so far detached from the process that it's like a completely different company now. I think the biggest thing that makes MDC different is that we are engaged with our affiliates and with our corporate team. But it can make the difference between like an average company and an excellent one. You got to listen to people at all levels of the organization. So that's the other thing, is you can't just stick to your top line, because sometimes your talent is on your level 1 and sometimes it's on your level 10, right? So it's important to be a talent scout throughout your entire organization. And sometimes we see these people because we see a volume spike, but sometimes we see them because we've heard them on a call, or we've heard them on a conversation, and we know that there's talent within these people. It's important to be the talent scout on your team so that you can bring out the best in these people. Responsive communication is the key to good communication. Responsive communication. So if you're sitting in your messenger, and I know Barb Miller talked about this on her training, she said people are ghosting you. Well, if you're ghosting people, they're going to go find somebody else to join. But such communication pays big dividends, because the more you know about a person, the better off you are. And as long as you maintain perspective and think like a leader, you're going to have a much better outcome. One thing that I do when I'm recruiting somebody is, like I said, I ask a gazillion questions, and I try to do little talking, because I realize that people literally sell themselves into this business if you let them talk a lot more. And you really try to dig deep into their life, you'll be able to offer them something that's going to solve a problem for them. When leaders listen, they receive others' insight, knowledge, wisdom, and respect. This puts all of our organization's assets into play, ready to be marshaled for the fulfillment of the vision and the attainment of all the goals together. So one thing I want to kind of bring to you guys' attention is just questions for reflection, which are at the end of this chapter. Do I spend more time listening, or do I spend more time talking to my team members? So I challenge you guys to do the opposite. Go and ask a lot of questions. If you ask lots of questions, you're going to get a lot of interesting answers. You're going to get to know, I asked right away, of my team, hey, why do you think people are not building? Why do you think people are not motivated? And right away, I got a lot of interesting feedback. Some was, well, they're focused on the war, or they're focused on COVID, or they're focused on the news and what's happening with the government. Like, people get so wrapped up in all of this stuff. So in my mind, I'm thinking, how can I turn this into an opportunity, right? Every crisis has an opportunity. So how can we help these people in their current state right now? How can we offer a solution? So I'm thinking to myself, well, if you're worried about what's happening in the world out there, the best thing you can do is become independent of it. So I'm thinking to myself, that sounds like a great time to start a business. If you're worried about your job or your job security or your benefits or whatever you're worried about, it's a great time for you to start a business. So the more questions you ask, the better you're going to be armed with the answer. All right. Number 2 is, what would happen if I spent more time asking questions than listening? What do you think would happen in your organization if you go down and start asking everybody some questions about what motivates them, what makes them tick? If you find out that information, you'll be able to be a better supporter for them in their entrepreneurship journey. And then last is, how can I start doing that beginning today? So how can I do this right now? So I challenge all of you guys now to go book a call with your downline. I know in previous trainings, we said, go book a call with your upline. I'm going to challenge you guys now, go book a team call with your downline and really get to know them and find out, hey, what do you need from me as a leader? Could I be doing something differently that will better support your business? Do you need a 3-way call? Do you need more Zoom calls? Do you need a better explanation of the comp plan? Or do you need, more product information? What do you need from me as a leader? How can I support your business? I think those questions are huge. And also ask them, why are you doing this? What is your biggest reason why you want to succeed in My Daily Choice? And if you can get that information from them, you can help build a custom plan for them to get there. And as you do that, the trust is going to go through the roof as you're leading them to the next level on their journey. So that's what I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for hopping on. Just a real quick training, and I will see you guys next Wednesday. And Thursday is Mastermind. So we'll see you guys then. Bye, guys.